So just before Christmas, I got this Onyx Books Note Air e-ink tablet, which I'm using for writing notes and reading Kindle books, split screen. Absolutely loving it. It's been a great note-taking device, and I've really seen my productivity increase thanks to it. One of the problems, though, that's now unfortunately happened is the pen nib broke off. And turns out that unless you get an entirely new stylus, the only other option is to get 5 additional nibs for like $23. That was the only store I could find that could sell them. And even then, they've taken forever to arrive. So I want to see if it's possible for me to 3D print a new one of these. Some people could argue that maybe I should just try and get a whole new pen, but I quite like the magnetic functionality on this. I know the magnets are potentially a little bit weak, but I really like that at least I can keep it there. So I want to see what can we do to 3D print a new nib. Will it work? Let's find out. So here I've got Fusion 360 open, and you can see that I've taken the dimensions of actually the original stylus nib that was inside the pen before the tip broke off. And I've taken that, I've flipped the whole thing so it's going to be pointing down onto the hot plate, so that way the additional thick bit of the nib is actually going to get printed sort of sooner on before the shaft potentially gets like maybe too bendy and moves around too much from the print nozzle. So from that Fusion 360 design, I've now brought it into Cura Slicer, and just to check that it is able to print all the finer details correctly, yeah, you can see it can. So yeah, let's just save that, put that through to the printer and see what comes out. I thought you might all like to see how the print looks when it's going. It's quite interesting when it's just going straight up really quickly. You can see that it's added a lot of extra plastic at the bottom of the base, probably just where it's over extruded. That's why I added the little bit extra just before the nib, so that the nib wouldn't get caught inside it. Although also it turns out I've just made the nib way too long. So probably going to want to try that again, but let's at least stick it in the pen and see how well it works out. Final product, and well, you can see that it actually looks like a stylus nib, which is reassuring. I also printed it with a brim just to make it a bit more stable, so I'm going to have to chop that off. But once I do that, let's see how well it fits. So, moment of truth, how well does it fit? Okay, it slides in quite nicely, which is good. Okay, but that's as far as it will go. Right, so that's not great. Yeah, okay, how much spare material do we have there? Let's check, let's get a ruler and check. So, okay, as imprecise as this may be, that looks to be about 4, maybe 3.5 millimeters. So maybe let's just reduce the shaft by that length and go for it again. Okay, so we're back in Fusion 360. Let's just go ahead and edit that sketch and bring that down to, let's just do 3 millimeters shorter. And yeah, let's see how well that fits. Okay, so that's now been printed out. Let's see how well that fits in. Oh, it looks like it's still a little bit too long, but I think there might actually be a little bit more room for it to fit in there. Let's just try that again. Ah, yeah, there it goes. Perfect. So, yeah, that sits in nicely now. It doesn't even fall out as well, which is good. Let's see how well it writes. And that's clearly a no. This is potentially going to be a little bit harder than I was expecting. I'm wondering if it's maybe because the piece isn't quite large enough and it's not making contact with the components. Going back to Fusion 360 again, let's change the thickness of the shaft, I guess. Let's do like a nice round 55. And then I'm also thinking that I want to actually remove the little thin bit at the top. I'm not really sure what that's really doing at this point, so let's just remove that and yeah, see how it goes. Okay, and let's see how well that fits. Ah, perfect insertion if I say so myself. Okay, moment of truth, how well does it write? Oh, did you see that? Yeah, yeah, it's reacting before it actually hits the paper. Okay, Something's clearly activating it inside. So what I was thinking I could try would be making the entire nib a lot longer and seeing if contact there would actually be made instead. So making that 18 millimeters instead. So that'd be 4 millimeters longer than currently. So it'll stick out quite a bit, but hopefully we might see some different behavior. Okay, so let's see. Oh, well, as silly as it is, it's working exactly like I'd expect. That's looking promising. A little side note of something that I noticed, it does actually make a difference which side of the pen you're pushing down on when you apply pressure. So yeah, that's going to have to be something to bear in mind moving forward. So in a turn of events, while printing all those nibs, these arrived. So I did still order the official books, like Note Air nibs, but they are like 20 something pounds a time. I don't really want to have to do that like every time I run through all these. So I'm thinking we can at least take the measurements of these and see if we can exactly replicate those and see how well that will work. Okay, so I've taken those exact dimensions and put them into Fusion 360. You'll see that it's a bit more detailed now than it was before. But yeah, like 2.5 at the top, 12 in the middle, 1.58 at the bottom, and for the tip itself. You'll see that the tip actually isn't quite as pointy. It does still have a sort of a larger end to it. That's more, I think, to allow the Cura Slicer and the printer ultimately to be able to print that, because when it gets really, really too narrow, then it just will ignore that layer entirely. But yeah, let's see how well this works. Hopefully this will be the last time having to set up the print and have it run. Okay, so time for the moment of truth. We have here the original nib, and here is the print. So you can know I could probably clean up the tip a little bit more, but apart from that, the dimensions are pretty much the same. You see that it's still got the thin bit there. So fingers crossed, it works straight out of the box. Okay, so yeah, slides in nicely. And moment of truth. Oh, it works perfectly. That is absolutely brilliant. That is perfect. There's no hovering at all. Amazing. That's it. So that's it. I now have a perfectly working 3D printed replacement stylus nib for the Onyx Note Air. I no longer have to worry about running out of nibs. If I break them, I'm having to wait for weeks before they finally get shipped. I can just print these on demand at a moment's notice. It'll be completely fine. Oh, this is just going to be so much easier. I've put the download link in the description as well if you want to 3D print your own. So yeah, good luck and thanks for watching.